What do these shocking claims from a former leader like Jim Harris say about the culture inside the Green Party? And what does it say not only about Ms. Paul's leadership, but about the challenges that women of color face in politics? Press galleries here. Steph Levitz is a reporter with the Toronto Star's Ottawa Bureau. Ian Bailey, a reporter with the Globe and Mail's Ottawa Bureau. He writes the Globe's daily politics briefing. And Sandy Hudson is the co-founder of Black Lives Matter Toronto. Thanks for taking your time. Sandy, I'll start with you. I don't know what you make of Jim Harris saying that Annamie Paul is essentially using racism to cover for her own failures as a leader. What's your response?
What a disgusting thing to say. What a terrible thing to say. It is really difficult when you experience racism to talk about it and to say publicly, this is something that I've experienced and this is real. Why? Because those of us who experience racism know that we're going to go through exactly this. People trying to say that we're making it up. It's not hard. If there was anything else that could be contributing to this, I'm sure she would want to name that. She has said that this is one of the most difficult times in her life. I can relate. I have been through things that are similar to this. And she's not lying. When people are saying that they are experiencing racism, I don't know what kind of expertise Mr. Harris has on racism. Certainly doesn't seem like that's something that he has experienced being a Black woman before in his life. But these sorts of tropes of being this angry Black person, the trope of someone, a Black person who's trying to get money from a particular situation. These are things that we hear over and over and over again when we are trying to malign Black women. And to me, this is outrageous to suggest that someone who is so new in the party in her leadership role could have had all this power to be the party's downfall when the party has its own democratic apparatus, multiple people who are part of how a campaign runs. And if you're asking about where the failure lies in performance, it's much more than any one singular person. And to blame it on one singular person, that does pass the sniff test of racism and anti-Blackness, absolutely.
Ian Bailey, what did you make of those comments? I know there's been a lot of talk about what happened inside the party after the stunning allegations that Annamie Paul made. Then you got Elizabeth May coming out, but now you got Jim Harris saying, just pick up on what Sandy said. What did you make of his comments?
Well, it was a pretty remarkable interview. You know, it's been striking so far in Ms. Paul's exit that there's been, from I guess the leaders of the Federal Council of the Green Party, no thank you to Ms. Paul, I guess. I mean, they may have their disputes, but she did go out there into the political arena and make the case for the Green Party. And so this lack of grace is striking. You know, I'm not going to sort of mediate this dispute, but what strikes me about this interview, looking at this interview, is that, you know, Evan, you know, in months or years to come, whenever, there will be a Green Party leader in the future sitting probably maybe in this chair talking about where the party goes, and that leader, he or she, is going to have to mediate the differences in this party. And from the looks of that interview, he or she has a huge challenge to do to get this party into any kind of shape, and they may have to do it quickly because it's a minority government, and this government may not make it 4 years, despite what the Prime Minister was suggesting last week.
Stephanie Levitz, Annamie Paul, she talked about the glass ceiling, the first female, Black, Jewish leader of a federal party. She says racism, anti-Semitism, internal attacks. Then Jim Harris comes out and says, no, none of that's true. What do you make of that? This is what we're seeing, the fights between former leaders like this. I've never seen anything like it. What do you make of his comments?
At this point, one has to wonder for the Green Party if any of it can be untangled from any other thing. Did Annamie Paul face anti-Semitism from within the ranks of her party? Did she face racism? Did she face sexism? All those things seem to be true. Did she choose to make some decisions as party leader that may not have been on the surface wise political decisions? Those also seem to be true. But at this point, you know, as Ian said, to even mediate this discussion seems impossible. These guys have tied themselves into knots with allegations and inferences and insinuations, and I don't know how you get past any of that at this point to sort of wipe the slate green, to use an expression, right? And try and rebuild some kind of party that appeals on a national level. Because if this is how a leader gets treated in this particular instance, what about the next leader? Like, I don't know what they're doing. And then, of course, we're doing this thing where we're putting it all back on Annamie Paul and demanding that she now justify her experiences of racism and anti-Semitism and sexism. And it's just, I don't know. I don't have a word other than, what Sandy said. It's a bit disgusting about what's going on here and how this debate has become so degraded.
And Sandy, there's been a lot of talk. And so go ahead, Ian, real quick.
There's no space in our democratic system in Canada for a timeout for political parties, but clearly the Greens could use one. I mean, they need a timeout to work through these issues because there is a constituency of voters out there who are looking for what the Green Party is offering. But from the evidence of these exchanges, the party may not be ready to make an offer to voters and to compete with other parties by the time there's another election.
Last minute to you, Sandy, but there's a bigger issue here too, and this is what a lot of women are saying. This is why I don't get into politics, right here. There it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me be clear with some specific examples. What Jim Harris is saying, Annamie Paul requested more money. So did Elizabeth May at the beginning of Annamie Paul's campaign. She sent out a letter to constituents asking to put more money into the campaign because COVID had dried up the coffers. Why is it a problem when Annamie Paul does it, but it's not a problem when Elizabeth May does it? When Elizabeth May wrote the article that she wrote in the Toronto Star yesterday saying that all of this was because of Annamie Paul's kind of autocratic leadership style, she also said that that sort of thing was impossible when she was leader because of the democratic structures that the Green Party has. Well, if the Green Party has those democratic structures and they are voting to provide Annamie Paul with what she has requested, then aren't they also at fault? Or are they only at fault when it's not a black woman in a leadership position? That's what we're seeing. It's a different standard for different people.
It's a different, and again, I just say we have invited Annamie Paul to come on, and I'm sure we'll hear from her about this, but pretty remarkable moment today. Ian, Steph, Sandy, the three of you, I always appreciate hearing from you. Thank you so much. Your perspectives